Howdy, folks. So, I was not assassinated by the publishers of Dune. Good news. I just really haven't felt like making any videos. Losing something you have put hundreds of hours of work into is kind of demoralizing. So I've just gone back to doing my regular day job instead. But yeah, one thing that I have kept up is my love of history, especially my love of armored warfare in history. So I can give you a pretty comprehensive timeline of armored warfare in general. I'm just not going to. And I found myself today watching G-Man Live's video on Teaser Play, which is a YouTube channel that essentially turns Unreal Engine 5 asset flips that they put together into concept trailers, which is where they just get a bunch of store-bought assets and put them together. It's sort of like an asset flip. So if you watched Total Biscuit, Jim Sterling, then Sid Alpha, then you know what an asset flip is. But it's essentially where a developer gets a bunch of store-bought assets, usually from Unreal Engine Store or Unity. Unity's really bad for it. And then just throws them together in a really basic way to make a video game. And when I say video game, I mean that in the loosest form of the word. I'm not going to mention any because they're surprisingly litigious and will probably take down my video. However, Teaser Plays takes this one further, and instead of it just being an asset flip, it looks like they make trailers and then put them up, and then they go everywhere. Like before I watched G-Man Live's video, I was seeing these things being recommended to me all the time in my Google feed, and with actual news outlets, like small to mid-level games news outlets, and the occasional like Marvel consumer outlet talking about them. And in G-Man Live's video, he talks over a clip of the Call of Duty 2 remake comparison video. And I spotted one short clip in all of the clip. I mean, there's so many historical inaccuracies through this whole trailer. The thing that really piqued my interest was the tank shots. So, in the original, it's a scene, looks like it's in North Africa, and there are a bunch of British Crusader light tanks. And it's from the perspective of one of the optics on the Crusader that you are commander of, I presume. So I'm guessing it's a commander periscope. It might be a gunner periscope. I don't know too much about the Crusader in particular. And it shows them driving through the desert. It then does a Windows Movie Maker ripple change, which is honestly hilarious. I knew not to use those when I was like 8 years old making Lego stop motion movies. Into what looks like either the Middle East or maybe the North Africa map from Battlefield 5. But what's really interesting is the tanks that they've then used in their Unreal Engine remake or concept trailer, whatever the fuck they want to call it. I mean, first of all, the tank HUD is gone. It's been replaced with a completely static compass and what looks like a man with a gun resting his dick on a midget's shoulder in the bottom left. On the right-hand side of the screen, we have what I think is an M4A3 Sherman armed with the 76mm M1 gun. So this is a really late war American variant of the Sherman. It might be the HVSS variant. I can't see the suspension well enough, but it might be the HVSS. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the VK4501P, better known as the Porsche Tiger, and it's really distinctive from the tracks and the engine deck. To give a brief history of this tank, it's essentially a failed prototype for the Tiger. There were two companies, Henschel and Porsche, that were competing to produce the Tiger, and Porsche's design lost that competition. This is what the completed Porsche Tiger would have looked like. However, it was never put into production, and it definitely never saw any service in North Africa, because as a few history buffs among you will already know, there were some completed Porsche Tigers that were used in command tank roles for the Panzerjäger Abteilung that they were assigned to, but definitely not in North Africa. So, starting off, the models they've used are scaled completely incorrectly. The VK4501P is roughly the same height as most Sherman variants. They're like within about sort of 20 centimeters of each other. So the scaling there is absolutely terrible. The place that the video is being shot from, the perspective of the video, there isn't an optic there. There isn't even somewhere that the commander could sit. In order to get that view, you have to be lying on top of the turret with your chin on the mantlet. And like you're probably going to get your chin trapped between the mantlet and the front of the turret if the gunner elevates the gun too much. So now that I've got over the obscure technical details, maybe I should just state the obvious. This is a complete departure from the original COD 2 footage that they were showing. This in fact mixes the two sides from World War II, showing a German tank and an American tank operating side by side. And it shows two kinds of tanks that were not used in North Africa. In fact, they were only put into service after the conclusion of the North Africa campaign. Like this video was awful to begin with, just because of like the exploitative nature of it, and the way that it's just trying to like nostalgia bait and all of that. But like that tank scene in particular, like that is my area of expertise, and that is egregious. That is terrible. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this rambling bullshit. Please go and watch G-Man Live's video. It's really good. Definitely recommend it. But yeah, there will be more content eventually. I don't know. But yeah, don't hold your breath.